Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing a bit of a life/reading update because I have not been here for a while and there are reasons, but I am back, it's fine, we're all back up and running and hopefully there won't be a break that long again. I can't promise anything though. So over the last couple of months I have been extremely busy. The first thing was Panto. I was in Panto at the end of January, so that just sort of took over my life within January. And then I also needed to sort out a lot of the house because my boyfriend was moving in. But that wasn't until the beginning of March, so I had plenty of time to do that. But as well as that, I was also ill during that week after Panto, and then the week after that, my laptop broke, so I could not do anything. I then had a dance show with the place I work at, and that absolutely took over my life for a good few weeks. I was round at people's houses until like 3 o'clock in the morning trying to sort out this show. It was just crazy, so I was so tired. Every time I had spare I was just in bed watching Harry Potter most of the time, because that's what you do when you're feeling tired, or just all of the time like me. I always watch Harry Potter. I need to probably branch out to more films, but I don't get it. And then after the dance show I was obviously sorting out the rest of the house for my boyfriend moving in, and he is now here, which is great, and I am really excited because it's sort of like a new chapter and it is just lovely. But yeah, I've sort of had one thing after the other and it's just been a bit chaotic, and I've not even been reading that much either, which is linking me on to the next part. I am going to tell you what I've been reading over the last couple of months because I didn't really get around to telling anybody what I was reading. I have been posting on my blog still when I could, but I've not obviously posted anything on here. So I just want to give you a sort of update on what I've been reading over the last couple of months rather than doing it as separate wrap-ups, because there's not really that much and might as well just do it all in this video now. So the first book I want to talk about I actually read right at the end of last year, but I didn't finish it before I did my wrap-up for December, so I never got to tell you what I thought of it, and that is Always With Love by Giovanna Fletcher, and this is a sequel to Billy and Me, and I adored Billy and Me when I first read it. It was just lovely. I don't particularly want to tell you too much about this synopsis-wise because if you've not read Billy and Me I don't want to spoil it, but it is about Sophie and Billy is a famous actor and Sophie works in a little coffee shop. And it is just very sweet. It is a lovely, lovely story. Kind of like romance, but the ups and downs of it and things. It's really, really sweet. It's done really well, and the locations are always just beautiful because Giovanna's really good at descriptive writing. I will say in this book it is more about long-distance relationship because Billy is doing a lot with work, with acting and things, and Sophie is at home at the coffee shop. So it's sort of how they deal with that. And yeah, I could obviously relate to that as well because I have been in a long distance relationship. I am still in that relationship, it's just not long distance anymore. But it's just, yeah, it's difficult, but it's nice to sort of be able to relate to a character even though their distance is a lot further than what my distance was. I loved revisiting these characters because I adore these characters anyway. I just find them so sweet. They are so lovely. If you've not read Billy and Me, I definitely recommend it. It is such a cute contemporary sort of romance book and I definitely recommend it, especially in the summer. I think it's quite a good one to read in the summer actually, but I obviously read this in the winter and it's still perfect. But yeah, if you want a cute contemporary romancy sort of read, I definitely recommend these books. I would have really liked to see Billy's storyline a little bit more because we got to see a lot of Sophie, and I absolutely love Sophie and the coffee shop and her sort of life, so I love reading about her, but it would have been quite nice to read about Billy's life a little bit more. We did get snippets of it throughout the story, but we didn't get that much, and it was pretty much all from Sophie's perspective as well. So it would have been quite nice to see a little bit more from Billy's perspective, but other than that, I really, really enjoyed it. And I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. And then the first book I read this year was actually a Christmas book because I was still in the Christmas spirit and I really needed more Christmas. And that was The Christmasaurus by Tom Fletcher. And this is about a little boy called William Trundle, and he is in a wheelchair because of an accident he had when he was younger. And he also has quite a difficult time at school, and there is this school bully that's just joined and she's horrible to him. They're really not very nice. He doesn't have a very good time at school whatsoever, and some of his friends have actually sort of left him on his own now as well, so he's not very happy, as you can imagine. However, what William really loves is dinosaurs. He has absolutely everything dinosaur. And for Christmas this year, he decides to ask Santa for a dinosaur. Yet what happens on Christmas Eve, he can't quite believe his eyes. I don't want to say much more. This is such a lovely children's book, but even though it's aimed at a younger audience, it is perfect for the Christmas time. I don't care how old you are, you really need to read this because it is so sweet. It also has a lot of messages throughout it as well that could link to any age group, and that was written about really well. And also the sort of sensitive topics within this as well were written perfectly. There wouldn't be anything in it that's a bit more controversial or anything. It is just a really nice book, and I definitely recommend it more around Christmas time because it does really get into the Christmas spirit, and you don't particularly want to be in the Christmas spirit in January like I was. That was a pretty stupid thing to do, really, but I love this book. I loved how different the characters were and how their personalities really stood out because they were so different, and just how each character was really easy to follow because they were so different from one another. My favourite character I definitely think was Mr. Trundle, which is William's dad. His character development throughout it was just amazing, and I'd love to see a sequel to this where it's more based on Mr. Trundle because I just love his character. As well as this book being perfect for children, it also does have illustrations throughout as well, which makes it even better because it sort of brings the story to life more, and especially if you're a younger reader, the illustrations really help. So you've got obviously these illustrations down here which are just lovely, and again they're just really pretty illustrations. They're really nice. So yeah, definitely recommend this. Definitely to younger readers, but if you're an older reader, give it a read as well because it's so sweet, it's so lovely. I just absolutely loved it. And because of the messages it does give throughout and the way it was written and how many sensitive topics were brought up and written very well, I definitely give this 5 stars. The next book I read was Ballet Shoes by Noel Streatfeild, and this is actually a reread for me. I read this a few years ago and I've also seen the film and I love that too. And this is just a book I wanted to revisit, and it came out of my rereads jar, so that was perfect. And this book is about 3 sisters called Pauline, Petrova and Posy, and Pauline really wants to be an actress. Petrova just loves playing with cars and engines, and she's a bit of a tomboy, and Posy loves to dance. All she wants to do is dance. They also have a great Uncle Matthew, and he tends to just disappear every now and again on travels, and it could be years before he returns. And this time he has gone on his travels, but he's left them with a certain amount of money that would last him throughout a certain amount of years. But Great Uncle Matthew does not return when he says he's going to, and so they start running out of money. And because of this, they are then made to go to dance lessons where they can get put forward for auditions, and if they get the parts, they will be paid for being in these performances. So this money is to help at home. Now Pauline loves this idea, Posy loves this idea, Petrova however is not so keen, and she just sort of strolls through the dance classes, not really caring. And it's about the girls through these dance classes and through these performances and how they cope with it all, I suppose, because it can be quite overwhelming. I love the characterisation in this story because the 3 sisters are just so different, so it was really easy to follow who was who, and they're just funny the way they're written as well because they're so different. I love the dance and the performance aspects because I am a dancer and dance teacher myself, and I've been in lots of performances, so naturally I'm gonna like that anyway, but it was just really well written, and it was just nice to sort of get into a story where I can relate to. The writing style was really easy to understand, but I would say that you could tell it was from an older writing style, but I loved that. I really loved that. Even though it was an older writing style, it's really easy to understand, and younger readers, it's perfect for. It is actually for younger readers anyway, but you can read it when you're a bit older like me, and it is just lovely. It's a really beautiful story, and it's kind of a one I feel like everyone should read because it's more of like a classic story, so I definitely think this should be read by everyone. And also, if you like this, I do recommend Dance and Shoes as well because that's also really good. That's another one of Noel Streatfeild's books, so yeah, if you've read this and you enjoy it, I definitely recommend Dance and Shoes as well. And I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. And the final book I have read over the last couple of months, I just adored. I'm going to find this really difficult to talk about because it just made me speechless. But that is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this and I really needed to pick it up. So I picked it up, read it within a few hours pretty much, and I just loved it. just... This book, please read it if you've not read it. It is just beautiful, yet so heart-wrenching. I can't talk about this one properly. This is going to be such a rubbish description. So basically this is about a boy called Connor, and he has nightmares, and one night a monster turns up at his window, and he's not sure whether he's still in his nightmares or whether it's real life, but he's not scared of this monster at all. That is not what he's having nightmares about. So throughout the story we get to learn why this monster's here and what this monster is sort of teaching Connor. I really don't want to say too much because this is definitely a story I feel like you need to go into without knowing anything, because it is just, this book I just can't talk about. It is stunning. Also, if you've not seen the film, I definitely recommend the film as well. That was beautifully done. Liam Neeson plays the monster, so yeah, Liam Neeson, he's just brilliant, isn't he? This story just had me so emotional. I don't cry at books that often, and I was a complete mess after reading this book. I just couldn't put it down. And I really probably should have at some points because I couldn't see the pages because I was crying so much. But, it's just beautiful. Everyone should read this book. Please read it if you've not read it. It was just so intense and gripping, and I need everyone to read this. If you've read this book, please comment what you thought of it because I'd love to know. And the messages throughout this story as well were just perfect. It really taught you a lot of things about the way you think, and sometimes you do just need to let things go, and it really helped me in that aspect because I can be quite negative sometimes. I'm not very good at staying positive a lot of the time, and I overthink everything and all of that kind of nasty stuff that goes on in people's heads. But this really did help me, even though I can't relate to it as such storyline wise. The messages I could sort of relate to a little bit more. The monster was such a good element as well because it was very different. It's not something I've seen before in a story, and it sort of represented things. Yeah, I just really like when characters represent things rather than them just being themselves, because I think that gives them a whole new level of interest, basically. As you've probably guessed, I really, really highly recommend this story. However, if you're a younger reader, just be aware that it is really, really heart-wrenching. So if you get really upset easily and it affects you, please be aware that this book could trigger all of that kind of stuff. So just be careful if you're a younger reader, but anybody else, please read. It is wonderful, and let me know what you think in the comments below because I'd just love to know. Obviously I give it 5 out of 5 stars because what else could I give this book? That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. All of my social media links will be in the description thing below, and by all means leave any comments for any of the books you've read that I've mentioned today. I'd love to know what you think of any of these books, especially Monster Calls. Please let me know what you think of Monster Calls, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye!